Jerseytown, Detroit, recording live. Prepare yourself for a hoppy drive. If you're chilling at home, pop that crowler and just kick back for the next 2 hours. It's the end of the week, so here's to the weekend. It's Better on Draft with Rob, Matt, Nick, and Ken.
There we go. Let's try that again. We are live, episode number 238. Better on Draft podcast. We've been doing this for over 5 years. Just celebrated our 5th year anniversary last week. We were so happy to have Ange and Matt back. But as we continue this road of COVID Better on Draft, and we're going to continue bringing in new guests and great guests, I want to preview a few of our upcoming episodes to tease you guys a little bit. Make sure you guys follow the events over on Facebook. But make sure you follow us because we're going to be doing events with the likes of Rheingeist. We've got Griffin Claw, Goose Island, all coming up, as well as one of, if not my favorite, probably second favorite, I don't know. I'm just stalling. We got Jester King out of Texas that's going to be coming on. And, of course, you want to talk about bringing in the big guns. At the end of November, Joe Short's going to be on the show. So that's going to be our second interview with Short's Brewing. So we're excited. Next week, we got Pigeon Hill. But this week, we got a very special guest. We don't bring in guests from this type of the brewing process every often. So we want to make sure we're going to ask them all the hard questions. But first, let's go around, see how everyone is doing. Robert, how are you and what are you drinking?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be back. Mad that I missed last week, but that's what happens. You make sure that when your in-laws are in town that you spend time with the in-laws. Everything else is secondary. So right now, I am not double fisting right now because I've only got the one glass, but it's not really going to matter when I transfer from one beer to the other. I'm happy also that Dan is not here because he would give me a ton of shit about this right now. But right now I have the Harpoon Dunkin' Pumpkin, which is Harpoon's ale that is with lactose, cinnamon, pumpkin puree, and coffee. And after that, I am probably going to be going right to the Bottle Logic Basic Math, which also has pumpkin in it. It has pumpkin and coffee, but it is a barley wine. I've already had one of these, and this sucker is pretty good. I'm actually just kind of letting it warm up right now because it's an English-style barley wine, and you shouldn't be drinking English-style barley wines cold. So that's what I got.
Awesome. Nicholas, how are you?
I found out I'm having a boy this past Sunday.
And you didn't cause a forest fire.
And I did not cause a forest fire. So that's two good things right there. So I'm good. Found out some good news today at work. So today's been a good day. Can't share it yet until they announce it officially, but it's good news. So for the good news, I'm drinking for the culture, Black Excellence, my can that I've been sitting in the fridge for a little bit now, but you know what? Saved it for a good occasion. What better way? And then in the little glass, double fisting, the Imperial Mayan Mocha. No, this is Imperial Mayan from Oddside. Imperial Mayan.
Nice.
Awesome. Wendy, how you doing up there?
I'm fantastic. Super happy that it's Friday. I switched back to double fisting this week.
Yeah.
I started out with an old fashioned made with my Dragon's Milk bourbon. It's delicious. Maybe because I made the drink. I don't know. Maybe a little heavy on the bourbon. But I also made a trade this week that excites me a lot because I've never had a beer with my name on it before. Go figure. It's a coffee pumpkin milkshake IPA. And
it's too many words.
I'm not a fan of pumpkin. I'm not a fan of pumpkin spice beers. And that's what I find most of them are. I don't mind this one as much because I think the flavors kind of balance each other out. The spices aren't as overpowering as in most pumpkin beers. So that's how I'm doing this week.
Awesome. Well, for me, I finished that keg of North Center Brown really fast. So I'm starting a little collection. I do need to go make a little trip to go return because obviously that's money left on the table with those deposits. but I have my nice big glass right here. That's District 16 from Wolverine State. They're amber. I had it in a bottle, and when I realized how much I was paying for like a 24 pack of beer, I realized I didn't want to do that anymore, so I bought a keg of beer. So that's going to be what my next this is my next keg right here. I'll probably go back and trade something up over at North Center next, but I love the District 16 amber. This thing is solid, easy to drink. Probably one of my favorite beers I've ever had from Wolverine State. Was excited to go over there. And I tell you what, I went there at 4:30 today, 4:30. Not only was the place like packed wall to wall. Let me rephrase that. When I say packed wall to wall, I mean COVID packed. So every table that was there had people there. The patio was full. They have a huge patio. It was a gorgeous day outside. People were inside drinking. Again, social distancing. They weren't packed. And then I did do a stopover at Holmes today, and I was going to go try to take some like cans to go, but there was a can release today.
Oh, that's right. Yes, there was.
So you would have had to wait in line 2 hours to get any?
Well, I went inside because the can release, they did the exact same thing as they did over at New Holland, where you just kind of drove through and did like a drive-through for the can release. But for me, like I went inside and it was still like a 8 to 10 minute wait at the bar, and I'm like, I ain't waiting. Like I'm just gonna go home. I have a keg that I can tap in, so I think my next Holmes trip is gonna be one like a day where they just open, and I'm there the second that they open the doors, welcoming whoever is opening the door.
I'm about to say I actually went to this week, Rochester Mills. We had my wife and I's second wedding anniversary was on the 6th, and people there, a lot of people on the patio that day, social distance patio. Still said some people inside, social distance. But it was nice seeing people, getting out and about and enjoying beer, food. The food was wonderful at Rochester Mills. I highly recommend, if you haven't eaten there, go eat there.
I used to go there all the time for, they used to do like a military discount, and one of my friends is in the military and would go there all the time to get beer on cheap. So, yeah, but we have from the Michigan Hop Alliance. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hey guys. My name is Mike Tanzini. I work for Michigan Hop Alliance, as you mentioned. Thanks for the intro. I'm our distribution manager. So I run our distribution warehouse in Livonia, Michigan. And I help out a little bit on the back end with sales and things like that as well. It's kind of we're kind of a two-man crew between Brian and I. So you kind of fill in where you're needed. But my job title is distribution and warehouse manager.
All right. And how long have you been there for?
Just over 2 years. So the middle of September, I think September 9th was my second year with Hop Alliance.
Awesome. Are you a hop farm? Are you a hop cultivator? Like, what is Michigan Hop Alliance?
Yeah. So we have a 30-acre hop farm up in Omena, Michigan. It's about 40 minutes north of Traverse City. So we are up in the Leelanau Peninsula. Way up there. So we grow 13 to 15 varieties, depending on year and all that good stuff. And then we also merchant hops. So we also buy and sell hops that we either can't grow here climate wise, or we can't grow here because they're proprietary blends, which is essentially like a trademark hop, which is a lot of the stuff that's out in the Pacific Northwest at Yakima and places like that. So we grow our own, and we also merchant hops as well.
So by merchant hops, you mean you buy them in bulk to then resell here in Michigan, or?
Yes, exactly. So we have good relationships with pretty much any farm out there. So all the big hop farms out there, we have a good relationship with them. So we'll buy hops from them, and then we will break them down and sell them to pretty any small local brewery that you can think of. We distribute to Michigan, and pretty much within the U.S. we distribute to all 50 states. So
where is Michigan ranked in hop growth for the states?
I believe I know we're top 5. I would say we're probably 5th or so. Majority of them are in the Pacific Northwest, but Michigan is certainly on its way up there. So pretty much anything along the 48th parallel is really good growing climate. So the more you head up north, you're going to start to see those big long telephone looking poles all over the place, and that's what they are. They're growing hops up there. So yeah, we're definitely in. Probably I would say we're in the top 5.
What do you know? Forgive me for being ignorant to Michigan or to the rest of the country, but do they see the crazy changes of weather that we do here in Michigan, where it can be, you know, like today it was 80, and just a few days ago it was below freezing?
Yeah. So if you think about the weather out there, right, in the Pacific Northwest, it's crazy, right? It's a lot of rain. I mean, they get snow from time to time. They get all sorts of different crazy weather out there as well. The beautiful thing about hops is, just like a good beer, it's resilient. So a lot of hops out there can withstand a whole lot. And, you know, this late in the year, they're pretty much wrapping up harvest at most farms. So we are also in the process of wrapping up our harvest. So all the cones are off the bines and stuff like that. Like once you get to this point of the year, it starts to get a little bit dicey because you have those trellises and all the cones make those trellises. The trellises are what they hang on. The weight makes them very heavy. So when it's windy and things like that, it starts to get a little bit iffy. So you want to get those cones down in a timely manner. But the beautiful thing about hops is they're resilient. So.
Nice. Well, and one thing I was actually kind of looking at as far as the stats, definitely top 5, because it looks like Michigan is 4th.
I was close.
Definitely. But one of the things I was definitely looking at is that despite being 4th, one of the things that I saw in some of the U.S. hop reports is that, you know, in 2017, we had, as a state, there was 810 acres of hops that were produced. We've dropped from 810 to now 720. Obviously, we're still up there because the next state behind us is New York at 400. So we still have a pretty sizable lead. And, you know, as Detroit Free Press had published, I think it was a year ago or actually 2 years ago, that they had said that Michigan was number 1 of the states that are not in the Pacific Northwest. I guess talk to us about being a part of that and being number 1, and I guess like an idea of why in these last 2 years we've been losing acreage.
Yeah, so I guess in terms of being number 1 outside of the Pacific Northwest, you mean?
Yeah,
I mean it's awesome. So the beautiful thing is hop growth actually pretty much started on the East Coast. So New York, Maine, that's kind of where it started, is up in that area. And then it worked its way and migrated west. And in terms of like, it's awesome to kind of be at the front of that pack, because there's a lot of places that can grow hops, and they're still working on refining their process and finding the proper acreage and getting stuff in. But, you know, I think the drop off is just kind of the nature of the industry. I mean, there's constant, it's just like breweries in the sense that there's constantly overturn, there's constant change. You know, in the beer world, the only consistent is change, right? So it just kind of, it's just the ebbs and flows of the industry. And I think that over time it'll stabilize. You know, I think we're the second largest farm in Michigan. There's one in Traverse City that's a little bit bigger than us. But yeah, I think it's the ebbs and flows of the industry. You know, we do the best we can to help as many farms as we can. And it's just, you know, whether we are, because we also, we process hops for other Michigan farms. So say you have acreage and you have a farm, but you can't process it. We come in and we also help out in that aspect. So it's just natural turnover, I think. And it's just constant change that you have to evolve and change with. So, yeah.
And definitely for all of the other hop heads that are out there, as far as hop production, as far as everyone outside of the Pacific Northwest, it looks like based on the numbers from 2019 that Michigan produces 30% of all hops not in the Pacific Northwest. Washington kills us and kills everybody.
Yeah.
'Cause in 2019, they produced almost 41,000 acres
Yeah.
of hops. So they basically like Washington, Idaho, and Oregon together represent, I think it's something like 99.5% of all the hops that are produced in the country. And it's just that's always just like looking at that and just seeing all the hops that they put out there. It's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah, we're right behind them. You know, we're right within reach. We're gonna catch them here soon.
we got them right where we want them.
Yeah, exactly. We're a fourth quarter state.
Oh, geez, here we go.
What?
So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, it's definitely only a matter of time. But I mean, I've seen that there are other states that are coming up. Obviously, like I said, New York's at 400. Wisconsin is getting up there at 297, and it looks like they're building as well because they've got pretty much the same climate that we have, except we have better water. We got the lakes. But yeah, there's quite a few hops that come from your acreage. I was looking at the site they're looking at all the hops that you guys sell. And there's a lot of the ones that a lot of people know, the Chinooks, the Amarillos, the Simcoes, the Galaxies. Are there any hops that you guys have that you feel that kind of fall under the radar that really make a good beer if more brewers started using them?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one you mentioned is I'll pinpoint that one in particular, Chinook. Chinook's a public variety, so you can grow it anywhere pretty much. The cool thing about Chinook is that if you get it in Michigan or if you get it in the Pacific Northwest, they're completely different hops. So we're getting more known nationally that, oh man, like that's Michigan Chinook. That's good. Our Chinook has a lot more acidic fruit to it. It's a lot of pineapple. We actually got in contact with Mikkeller, San Diego last year, and they reached out to us and said, we need to get our hands on this hop. And we actually sent them 1,100 pounds, and they did a limited run of a beer called Tiny Scissors. And it was, I know it was available at Holiday Market, but it was a very limited release for them. But they reached out to us. They loved the hop. They wanted to get their hands on it. So Michigan Chinook is on its way up. And I would say one that's starting to make a little bit more noise would probably be Simcoe. Simcoe used to be way underutilized. I think it's probably one of my personal favorite hops. And it's a really good hop standalone, and it's also really, really versatile. So it's good with pretty much anything. Pretty much anything that you put it with, it's going to have its own individual characteristics as well as kind of being a good fit blended. So yeah. And then one more that I will say, it's a hop that Hopsteiner grows, which I believe is in Idaho. It's called Lotus. It's probably the most underutilized hop, in my personal opinion, in the U.S. I will plug. So what I'm drinking is it's a collab that we actually did with Ascension Brewing in Novi. It's called Lotus Flower Bomb. And I kind of approached them and I said, look, this hop's way underutilized. You guys need to try it out and use it. And they were like, well, come collab with us. So I helped them put together the recipe, and we did so that the beer actually has a little bit of our triple pearl hops in it, as well as a ton of Lotus. So it's pretty much it's a flower bomb. It's a Lotus bomb. But it's done pretty well for them, and it's a really good beer. So yeah, I would say that those are probably the three that are kind of on their own in terms of like just not being used in the way they should be.
So as someone who grows hops so this is my first year that I've been growing hops at home. I probably will destroy how to pronounce them, but Tettnang.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
you're close.
I'm close. That's and I think the other one is like Hallertau.
Yep.
What should I look for Like what are some suggestions you should give someone like me who is just starting to grow hops? Like this is the first year, so obviously we're not cultivating anything.
Yeah.
Like what would you tell me or someone who wants to grow their own hops?
So first I'll start by saying Hallertau, it's Hallertau. It's actually a region in Germany. So Hallertau is a term, but there's Hallertau Mittelfrüh, Hallertau Blanc. There's a bunch of them. So that's just the region that it's grown in. But yeah, if first of all, I tell everybody to grow their own hops. It's a lot of fun. The one thing is that if you move, whoever moves in behind you won't like you because they can pop up wherever.
Yes.
I have a friend
that I will agree with. Yep.
So he's like, I don't even know what they are or where they came from, but they started sprouting up my mailbox in my house. And so yeah, I think if I were to give anybody advice, it would be to stick with it. It can be kind of a pain in the butt at first. And with all good things, patience is key. So the first year, you're not going to get anything, as you know. In the second year, you might get a little bit, but you have to keep at it. Learn, read, whatever outlet you can find information in, just you'll find something resourceful from it. There's so many different things you can do to maintain them.
Now here's a dumb question to follow up with that. Why wouldn't you get any or little in like the first couple years, and then years 4, 3, 4, 5, so on, you get full blown? Like why is it just a characteristic of the hop plant itself?
Yeah. So the rhizome has to root. And that takes time. So it'll root and then it'll sit dormant. And then after the first year, then you'll start to reap the benefits on that. And then every year after that, you will start to produce more. So when you harvest hops and you cut them off at the base, you're keeping that root in the ground. So you don't have to replant anything or anything like that. It'll eventually just reroot itself, and then you just have to give it the direction. So every spring you go in, you find it, you run it clockwise up the trellis, and then you watch it roll. So that's pretty much yeah.
So the reason why I asked that is back when I was in college, I went to a college in Wayne State, downtown Detroit, and we have a parking lot in the house that I lived at, and it shared part of the lot line next to a crappy grocery store that had barbed wire hanging on down the side. What do you figure? Downtown Detroit. Ken knows what I'm talking about. But it had barbed wire down the side. One day, one of our alumni, I was a fraternity member, one of our alumni shows up with a garbage bag, and he starts picking away at the barbed wire. Turns out it was a hop plant back there, and we didn't even realize it. He knew about it because he was there years ago, but it just sprouted out of nowhere, and it was growing up and down this barbed wire. And and none of us, I was there for 3-4 years, none of us knew that we had a hop plant growing in, our crappy backyard parking lot. Next thing you know, he's picking a whole hop plant off of this barbed wire. So it's
and another cool thing too is like, if you guys are familiar with Neo-Mexicana varieties, the most popular one is probably Sabro. So Sabro hops over in like New Mexico, those were wild hops that basically came from Mother Nature. And they found them and harvested them and said, these are incredible. And then from there, Sabro just, the acreage goes up year after year for that hop. So yeah, Zeus is another one. And then Zappa. Those are the other Neo-Mexicana varieties.
With beer obviously being probably the majority of your, breweries being the majority of your purchasers, what else are hops used for?
Oh man, we've been contacted from people that want to put it in soap, which is safe. You can do that. We actually do have other customers that have kombucha places. Unity Vibrations in Ypsilanti, they're one of our customers, so they buy hops from us as well. Man, everybody, I've seen people. So we have one of our distribution drivers with FedEx wants to make his own like tea just with hops. So I'm like, well, so you want to make unalcoholic kombucha essentially, like with hops in it. So he's from Jamaica and he's pretty cool, but he's like, I just want to figure out something to do with these things. And I was like, yeah, hey, go crazy. But yeah, I would say
I don't mean to interrupt, but would then hop tea from Hoplark just be considered unfermented kombucha, or because like hop tea is like black tea with like hops, I'm guessing, steeped in them?
That's
it's fermented.
It's not fermented, no.
No.
Then it would just be the hop tea. It would just be some type of hop tea.
Because I was gonna say, because I would think that would be the same thing with Lagunitas and hop water, is that it's just they just take the hops and it's just steeping it in water and then bottling it. Because I mean that hop tea from Hoplark, that is some really good stuff. And for that start to go into NA beers, or they want something that has a hop build to it, but they don't want the alcohol. I mean, hop tea and hop water, those are some really good alternatives.
Yeah, so the Lagunitas one that you mentioned in particular, my wife and I came across it. I think we were out in Royal Oak or something for dinner, and they had it somewhere, and it was fantastic. I mean, it was delicious. It quenched your thirst. It was really good tasting. My father-in-law is a good example. He doesn't drink, and he really wanted to try it. So it's cool too. So people can get a baseline for what hops are if they don't drink beer, and kind of see what it has to offer. And he really, really liked it. So I can definitely concur. And that is fantastic. It's a blend of the Lagunitas one is a blend of Cascade and Citra.
And it's better than some IPAs I've had. I mean, it's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
One other question I had about all of the hop varieties, and obviously everything that you sell, and then everything that that is kind of under radar. But one of the questions we do tend to have about some of the breweries is we tend to ask, what's your big sellers? What beers are the ones that you have to keep making over and over? As far as the hop varieties, which ones are you guys really like have the huge demand and selling?
Yeah, so I think pre-pandemic, it was a lot of what you guys would anticipate or expect with your hazy beers. It's Simcoe, Citra, Mosaic, Idaho 7, El Dorado. I think what we're finding over the last 6 or 7 months is that brewers want to go back towards their roots, and they want to dig in a little bit more into those public varieties and get back to stuff that's really affordable and really versatile that they can use in a number of different beers. But I would still say that Mosaic and Citra and Galaxy, Australian Galaxy, is a huge one that we sell. But it's been really interesting the last, 5 or 6 months to watch the transition of brewers kind of dipping their toe into a little bit more of the public varieties that you wouldn't see. So when I say public varieties, I mean Centennial, Cascade, Chinook, Columbus, stuff like that. We've seen a tick up in those varieties, but Mosaic and Citra are still king in the U.S. for sure.
Okay. And there was one that you had mentioned earlier about trademark hops. I guess, it sounds like it is what it sounds like, but I guess explain to us what a trademark hop is. And I'm wondering, do trademark hops hinder progress in terms of, the hop harvesting business?
Yeah. So when I say trademark, I mean proprietary blend. So proprietary blend is a lot of the stuff that's grown out in Yakima. So while we may have the climate to grow it, we can't legally grow it. So Citra, Citra, Mosaic, like stuff like that, El Dorado, those are proprietary blends that we don't have the capability to grow. Now we can partner with some farms and get the okay from them to grow for them. So we are the only farm in Michigan that grows Summit. So we have Michigan Summit, and it's Summit's a really unique hop. It's very dank. If it's picked too late, if you guys have ever had a beer and you smelled it and it almost smelled like garlic, it's very weird, but it does happen. It's because the Summit was picked too late, so it makes the beer very garlicky. But like that's a blend that we got the okay to grow, and we grow that. So proprietary just means, kind of keep off our turf. We grow these ones, and we grow these ones. Yeah, we grow these ones, and if we tell you can grow them too, then go ahead. So we've worked on those, And then what was the other question you asked?
Well, I was just really just wondering, in terms of those trademark hops, that, is there a potential, I guess, for that to hurt the business, where you're making all of these, you're producing and harvesting all the hops that you have now, but obviously going 3, 4, 5 years going into the future, that there are other hops that you want to cultivate, and running into these trademark hops is there the potential that there's a ceiling that you can run into where what you produce is it?
Yeah, and I think, I definitely see what you mean. And I think especially when you think about the planning that goes into it, whether it's Ken growing, small hops in his backyard, it takes years, right? So you have to think about the jobs that these farmers are trying to do in forecasting 3 to 4 years out. What's going to be popular in 3 years? What are people going to be drinking? Are they going to be going back to Pilsners where it's, more traditional? Are they going to be drinking pumpkin milkshake IPA? It's kind of very dependent on it's not a job that I'm glad I don't have. But yeah, I definitely think it makes it hard because you have to forecast, and when you have to forecast a year in advance, it's hard. Imagine trying to forecast 2 to 3 years in advance, and then you plant that acreage, and then you have to sell that hop for cheaper, or there's a lot of different variables that go into ripping out those rhizomes and planting something else. So that takes a lot of time. So
was anyone ahead of the game for the New England IPA craze that exploded back in 2017?
Yakima's always ahead of the game, so they just stayed ahead of the game because they had the funding and the capacity to just ramp up production on those hops and bring on additional farms that could grow it for them. So yeah, that's the cash. That's the one. Like, that's especially Citra. I mean, to watch the ebbs and flows of what Citra costs per pound just in a 6-month span, as opposed to, a year span, it's incredible. So it's hard to forecast stuff like that, but pretty much any of the ones, Yakima Chief, Barth Haas, those guys they were ahead of the curve with that stuff, with the New England varieties.
We did have a question from the chat, and this is more direct towards Michigan Hop Alliance, and maybe more in general because we're doing a lot of learning today. Are you guys doing any hop breeding?
So we are on a very small scale. So we aren't producing anything to distribute. I think we have one called Bitter Gold that we grow. It's a breed of 2 different varieties. That's pretty much like the only one that we've bred to distribute. And I think we have like maybe 200 pounds of it, which is not very much, like coming in for our 2020 harvest. But other than that, nothing. We're definitely doing some hop breeding, but nothing big scale or anything like that. So.
And one of the questions that I want to ask personally, because I love hearing the answers, because not everyone really has the same answer, and I think it's just more personal taste. I love Centennial from Founders. Sorry, Rob. From Founders, but I do not at all like Two Hearted. Both Centennial hop builds. Why? Why do you think that is?
So that's a good question, and I think specifically with like Two Hearted, there's a lot that goes into the malt backbone of Two Hearted that contributes to that flavor. So if you look at them in color, they're completely different colors, right? Even if you look at like All Day IPA and Two Hearted, one is like a light IPA. The other one is very dark and amber colored almost. Two Hearted has that red hue to it. A lot of those flavor characteristics from the hop come from the malt backbone. So it's all dependent on what the grain bill is for those beers, is kind of how that works. So that's why you get 2 completely different beers with the same hop. Each ingredient brings its own variable to the table.
For me, I always look at hop builds, like if they're gonna tell me what hop is in the beer itself before if I make the decision to try an IPA, because I'm not a fan of IPA. But the other question that I really want to ask that I think you can be an expert on, and this is even before Better on Draft, the initial Better on Draft show, we did, you might know Shane Hudson. He works over at Old Nation now.
Yeah. Yep.
We did, and there was 5 of us, and we took 3 bottles of 4-week-old Two-Hearted and 1 bottle of 4-day-old Two-Hearted, and we tried to find the 1 4-day-old with hops with IPAs. Like, what is a good, like, let's imagine perfect temperature control. So let's say 8 degrees Plato in Detroit, or Zatuna Liquor over in Rochester Hills, just south of M59 on Rochester Road. Go check them out. Good temperature control. They don't mess anything up. They're really smart in regards to how they handle the beer. What is the shelf life of your standard IPA? Not IPA with adjuncts, milkshake, coffee, pumpkin spice, squash pie, IPA. No, just a Two-Hearted. What is the shelf life?
Wendy's being really nice to you guys over there, just taking shots at her.
I know. I feel attacked. I'm like, I don't even like pumpkin beers, but it's got my name on it. I literally had to buy it.
That's fine. I've had Kilkenny before because it's got Kenny in it, so I can't say anything against that. But
my wife's currently drinking a pumpkin whiskey from Southern Tier that they make. That is apparently really good.
That was going to be on our...
Zatuna just posted that today.
Yep. That was going to be definitely talked about in our segment, too, about pumpkin beer whiskey.
I gave it an intro. You guys can talk about it later.
Did she like it?
I don't know. She's currently drinking it right now at a friend's, so I have no idea. I'll get back to you on that.
All right, we'll get the man on the street report from Mike Tanzini's wife. But again, the shelf life of just your standard IPA, because a lot of people, when they see these Two-Hearteds, they see stuff and they see it's like 3 weeks old or a month old, they're like, oh, it's the worst thing in the world. I'm like, I don't know if it's that bad.
And the thing too is, like, depending on how with like the hop dosages, sometimes you have to let hops settle out. To answer your question, I would say, like, perfect temp climate control, not your buddy's fridge that's 58 degrees and barely cold in his garage. I would say it's probably a month and a half to 2 months. I think that, it's very subjective. I think that that's personal preference. Like, for me, if I can still have an IPA after 2 months and it's still a really good IPA, and that's not adjunct, that's not flavor addition, that's just a regular IPA. So I would say 2 months max.
I want you to be honest with this question. Do you think you could tell the difference between a 6-month Two-Hearted and a 6-day Two-Hearted?
Two-Hearted Bell's is so seamless with their process. Probably not. I probably couldn't.
So I want to go back a little bit because I just want to tell you the preface of the story. Some guy was complaining on one of the forums, probably DACB or whatever, that it was a 4-week-old bottle of Two-Hearted on the shelf. And I'm like, you couldn't tell the difference. And at that point, I invited that one person along with like an open invite to my friend's house, mind you. So not even my house, just a friend's house. And I'm like, coming over. Yeah, I want anyone to try to come over. And Shane's the only one that answered the call. He came over and he's like, let's do it. Let's try it. And sure enough, we just could not figure out that difference. Now, we were able to do it, like, if you could put 2 glasses up to the light, you could see the hue difference. That was the only thing. Nobody out of all of us, and mind you, I'm not going to tell you I'm a great Cicerone sommelier. I have a great palate. I have a shit palate. I have a palate of a 6-year-old. I mean, I eat my vegetables, so I'm happy. Going back to it, what is a and I know Wendy has a question, which I'm going to go to her right after. What is a hop that you wish you guys could grow up here that we can't grow in Michigan due to the climate or maybe acreage because you don't have enough space?
I'm going to go to the noble side. So noble hops being a lot of traditional German hops. We can grow it here, but we don't grow it. Is Hallertau Blanc. It's a really, really unique hop that you'll find in Pilsners and New England IPAs. So it's a really cool, versatile hop. And I think that Hallertau Blanc and Hallertau Hulmelin or Huelmelin are really, really cool noble hops that you can grow here. We don't, unfortunately, but they're great hops. So yeah, there's a farm. Shout out Andrew Wallawender. He owns 45th Parallel Hops. They grow a lot of Hallertau Mittelfrüh. Like he grows German varieties, so you can grow them in Michigan. We just don't. But Hallertau Blanc would probably be my choice.
I'll have to see what Hallertau brand that I have.
Yeah.
And, maybe do a little collaboration homebrew with you over there. I know Wendy's got a question for you.
So I have a couple of questions, actually. I kind of want to go a little more personal than just. So what you seem to be very knowledgeable about hops. What was it that brought you into Michigan Hop Alliance?
So I've been with the company for about 2 years. I actually did the Schoolcraft Brewing program as well. I pretty much started taking classes there and started my job at the same time, which they're both in Livonia, so it worked out. I just knew that this was an industry that I really, really wanted to be a part of. I didn't really know where I'd fit into it. There's so many different, everybody gets into this and they're like, well, I want to make beer. I want to be a brewer. I like doing that. But there's a lot of different areas of the beer industry that you can get into and make a really good living and have a really good time. So, guys like Shane, Ken, I'm sure would attest to that. Like, there's just so many different things you can do. I think what got me into it is the culture, if that's kind of a roundabout answer. I love that it's more of a collaborative effort instead of a competitive effort. And I didn't really know where I would fit into it when I started the program and when I really wanted to make that career transition. I knew I loved IPAs. I knew I loved home brewing. I didn't really know much else past that. But thankfully, Brian kind of took me under his wing and we were in the process of expanding. And, they saw something in me to give me that opportunity. And I just kind of took it and ran with it because I love the beer industry. I love talking about hops and I love all the other ingredients too, but I think we know which one's the best one. So, but yeah, I think it's the collaborative effort. Yeah. I don't have any yet, but I've been told I need to get some. So, but I would say it's the collaborative effort and just like, the industry itself is so creative and fun. And it's fun to meet so many different people in so many different aspects that have one common love. So, yeah.
A follow-up question to that. Sorry.
No, go for it.
Is so there's only one hop that I can really pick out if it's in a flavor profile, and it's Simcoe because it literally makes me want to wipe my tongue off. Like there's something about it that I cannot stand. Even if it's one of 7 hops, I can tell it's in there. Can you tell the difference in the hops when you're drinking beer?
I can, yeah. So I have that hop for me in particular. It's Mosaic. For whatever reason, Mosaic always makes me sneeze. I don't know why. I have no idea. But Mosaic I can definitely pick out of a lineup for sure. And it's also probably based on usage. I think no matter what New England IPA or IPA you drink or pale ale you drink right now, it has Mosaic in it. So I can, Mosaic is definitely that one for me. So my question to you is, do you not like Simcoe, or is it just like the astringent taste it leaves on your mouth?
So I'm assuming that I don't like it because I started this journey a few years ago and tried to figure out which hops I like and don't because I didn't like IPAs at first. Okay. So I've learned that there are certain hops that I do like and certain hops that I don't. The only one that I can tell if it's in there though is Simcoe, and I don't know if it's something about the hop that doesn't react right with me, but I just can't stand it. Yeah,
that's how I am with Mosaic. So whenever I break open a bag and split it, I have to put a mask on because it just makes me sneeze like crazy. It drives my sinuses nuts. So I can relate to you in that aspect for sure.
I want Simcoe air fresheners. That shit is amazing.
Right. Oh, jeez.
Thank you. I'm with Robert.
They
I'm
love
with Robert. It's my favorite.
Love Simcoe. Ken, I think you
Wendy,
go.
Wendy just wanted to throw up when I said that it was the most underutilized hop in the game.
I was very quiet about it. I didn't jump in.
So I was able to find out it's Hallertau Mittelfrüh.
Okay. Yep.
That's what I'm growing.
That was good. That was spot on.
Thank you. Thank you. I practiced in my head a lot. I did not get a chance to find like a how to pronounce it because anything that gets fed into my ears will feed into the show. And
It would have been awesome.
it's crazy because these headphones that I have next to me are my Corsairs, and if I muted my mic, it'll say mic muted in my head, and it pushed into the show. So people were like, why does it keep saying mic muted? I'm like, God damn it. Thankfully, I figured it out on the one show. I kept muting myself so I wasn't like breathing into the mic or anything. What's in your fridge right now? If I open up your fridge, what do I normally see?
Oh man, you're gonna see variety. That's for sure. You know, everybody's like, well, you gotta love IPAs. I love all beer.
You don't have to love anything.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But I love all beers. You're gonna see variety. You're gonna see. I have some Czech pills from City Belt Brewing in Grand Rapids. I have a Martin from River's Edge. I have the IPA that I'm drinking from Ascension. I have some Sam Adams in there. I think I might even have some Pils or Kel in there. So there's a little bit of everything in there. Nice. So
what do you want to see next year as like the trend? Like not what you're making over at Hop Alliance, but what do you see as the trend? Do you see a hop that you want used more? Do you see a beer that you want brewed more? Like what do you, Mike, want to see in the industry?
Oh man.
This is your wish.
Yeah.
Not what makes you money. This is your wish.
Yeah. I think more variety would be probably the biggest thing that I want to see. You know, I think at the end of the day, I understand that, you know, you got to pay the bills and you got to brew what's going to sell. So I understand that it's a lot easier said than done to do that. But I think I just want to see breweries try and dial in their process a little bit more. You know, there's a lot of really good breweries out there. There's a lot of breweries that could use a few things. But they can get there, right? So it's tuning in that process instead of just throwing hops at it and assuming that, you know, it's going to stick and make a really good beer because it's got these hops in it. A lot of brewers to me don't take in the account of process and what goes into making those beers. It's just, you know, let's see what happens. And some of them are really, really good. I'm not going to say they're not, but I think I would want to see brewers try and dial in their process a little bit more because at the end of the day, Michigan beer drinkers are smart. They're not dumb. So if you make a bad beer, they're going to know it and they're going to go down the street and they're going to find a good beer. So whether that be a beer clean glass or, you know, good head retention, just process. That's what I want to see a little bit more of is dialing in the process.
Well, speaking of the process, what do you see? Like, what do you look for at a brewery? You know, you're talking a beer clean glass, so you're obviously looking to make sure the process is good, the pour is good, the taps are, the lines are clean. Like, what do you look for in a brewery that makes it your brewery, a brewery you want to come back to?
Oh man, I think the first thing that I look for is not beer related at all. It's probably community. I like to go into tap rooms and see people talking to people at the table next to them and enjoying good conversation over good beer. So I think that's probably the first thing that I look for because beer at its core, that's what it is, right? It's a great conversation starter. So it's a good way to talk to people and meet people and learn. But you know, I like to see that variety. Like I mentioned, like I like to see at a brewery that they have a Belgian and they have a Kolsch and they have an English barley wine and they have, you know, maybe not as many would have an English barley wine, but I think that I would like to see more English barley wine. I think Robert could attest to that because he's got one.
Fuck yeah. As I'm drinking one right now.
So I think I look for community. I like to see people talking to each other. I love Batch, for example. They had, pre-pandemic, even now they have a cool patio set up outside, but they had, a lot of tables that were just big picnic tables and you could sit and just talk to people. And it was a really good way to start conversation. And I think that and like I said, variety. I like to see a brown ale and stuff like that on tap with my New England IPA.
Oh, now you made Ken happy.
I went to Canton Brewworks yesterday. Not only did they have a brown ale, they had 2 amber lagers on draft.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a Marzen, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how am I'm in the first beer I get's a seltzer, because I didn't even look at the rest of the menu. I saw the seltzer. I'm like, all right, let's go for it.
Yeah, my sister-in-law loves brown ales. That's her style. Like Bel Air Brown is her go-to no matter what. And shout out, Batch makes a really, really good brown ale. I cannot remember the name of it, but it's a fantastic brown ale.
If they do it again, Batch, and if she likes the brown ale, I'm gonna assume she's gonna like the alt beers. And Batch makes the Autonomous Collective, which is I see you shaking your head.
It's actually on right now.
Is it on right now? Oh, I'm gonna go message Steven and see if there's a keg available for me. I will put it away for sure. I am gonna open up to the staff before we kind of let you go. See if anybody else has any questions.
I think, as they say in court, I have no further questions.
All right. So the last question I want to ask, just because I'm growing and we talked about home growing, do you guys sell plants?
We do not yet. So we're just weaning into the process of selling to homebrewers. So that's maybe a little bit behind that. But nothing's out of the realm of opportunity. If there's a customer base for it and people want it, we're going to try to take care of them. So
do you sell to homebrewers like Adventures in Homebrew and
we do?
Captain
Yeah,
Court?
in Ann Arbor. Yep, we do. Yeah. So we do sell to homebrewers. We sell to homebrewers all over the country. We have homebrewers in Texas that we sell to. But yeah, they have the terrible job of splitting down into even smaller bags. So we we sell everything in 11 pounders, and we're working on maybe making some smaller sizes. But as you know, and anybody that homebrews, yeah, to make a New England IPA, you need like maybe a pound for a 5-gallon batch. So yeah, like, but yeah, we sell to homebrewers. We're homebrew supply stores. We're in the process of making some homebrew stuff available from our website, so that people can go check it out and buy some stuff for them to brew at home. So,
well, Mike, they can find you on Instagram at Michigan Hops.
Yep.
Obviously, they can see your products in a lot of the beers that we're drinking. So go follow them over on Instagram so you can see kind of where their hops are landing in your glass. Anything you want to plug before we take a break?
No, my own personal Instagram is the Hoppy Compagno. It's Italian, so you can go follow that. But other than that, I don't really have much else. So,
well, I will make sure to put that in the description because I don't know how to spell that.
It's
on the video itself, it just says at Michigan Hops, which is your Michigan Hop Alliance. But we'll make sure to put that in there, guys. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back with the news and the Better on Draft podcast.